Might overreact to small things like being told no or not being picked for a game and feel completely crushed and isolated and rejected. It's not attention seeking, it's real emotional pain.
Rizwana Dudia is an advanced practitioner and pharmacist.
With over a decade of experience in mental health,
her primary focus has been on supporting individuals with learning disabilities and autism.
These kids show really high ability in one area, but struggle with executive function, attention, or behavior. And it can be really confusing for teachers and parents because the strengths can sometimes mask the struggles or vice versa. But it's real, and with the right support, these kids can really thrive.
Welcome to ADHD Experts, the podcast where certified clinicians, specialists, and lived experience voices unpack what ADHD really looks like.
Hi, Rizvana. Welcome back to the podcast. It's always good to have you here. So, a lot of people still assume that only kids have ADHD. Like, once you grow up, it magically disappears. Is that true?
Not at all. ADHD is unfortunately a lifelong condition, but it can look different in adults. Some adults may have not been diagnosed as children because they might have been really good at masking it when they were a child. And unfortunately, many, many years ago, it wasn't as prominent as what it is now because it was left untreated. So there wasn't as much support or treatment available as there is now because more and more people are getting diagnosed. It's also very undiagnosed in women because they are also very good at masking their feelings. But the signs may shift from like running around or feeling constantly restless or struggling with time management to having like emotional regulation difficulties, problems in relationships, etc. So while it's often picked up in childhood, many people do carry it on into adulthood, sometimes without realizing it.
What ADHD traits do we see in popular TV characters? And how do they feel so relatable to so many of us?
So you'll often spot ADHD traits in characters without it ever being named. So think of someone like Bart Simpson, impulsive, always moving around, doesn't think before he acts. Or in kids shows like Luna from PJ Masks, or even Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, who shows traits like hyperactivity, distractibility, or difficulty following rules. It's not always accurate, but it can be a helpful starting point to talk to your child about ADHD in a fun, non-stigmatizing way. So just by saying, look, their brain is working a bit differently, just like yours is. But if they have siblings who don't have ADHD, who might not have the same struggles that they have, you can then use that kind of comparison to make them feel a bit better and have a greater understanding of it.
While we're on the topic of all these quirky, lovable, slightly chaotic TV characters, it kind of leads to another big question. Are people with ADHD more creative?
Very often, yes, many people with ADHD are incredibly creative, especially when they're interested in something. So their brains can make unexpected connections, think outside the box, and come up with real original ideas. But it's not a guarantee, and creativity can sometimes be hard to harness if there's trouble finishing things or staying focused. But given the right support, it can be a huge strength. And children like it when you kind of describe it as their superpower, so they can focus on it a little bit more and use it to their advantage and see it as a skill that they want to cherish and nurture and progress even more if they can.
So that leads us to a question a lot of people love to ask and some people roll their eyes at. Can ADHD be a superpower?
It can feel that way sometimes, especially when someone is thriving in the right environment. And that ability to think differently, act quickly, feel deeply can be really powerful. So, yes, it's really important to make children understand that having ADHD can be a superpower, but also important to recognize that ADHD can also come with challenges. So, it can be a superpower and a struggle and can happen at the same time. But as long as we are transparent with our children and explain exactly how they need to navigate their way through life, I think they will be absolutely fine. This is often called twice exceptional. So, when a child is both gifted and has a learning difference like ADHD, these kids show really high ability in one area, but struggle with executive function, attention, or behavior. And it can be really confusing for teachers and parents because the strengths can sometimes mask the struggles or vice versa. But it's real, and with the right support, these kids can really thrive.
Now there's a term, RSD, or rejection sensitive dysphoria, that comes up a lot in ADHD conversations. And for many people, it hits really deep. So, what is that exactly?
So, RSD is a really intense emotional response to perceived rejection or criticism. It's not officially in the ADHD criteria, but a lot of children and adults with ADHD can experience it. They might overreact to small things like being told no or not being picked for a game and feel completely crushed and isolated and rejected. It's not attention seeking, it's real emotional pain, and they often struggle to bounce back from it. It's really important to understand that and support them if you feel like your child might be experiencing this.
Another really important question is, can trauma mimic ADHD symptoms in early childhood?
Yes, trauma can sometimes look like ADHD. Things like difficulty concentrating, being hyper alert, emotional outbursts. And that's because both affect how the brain regulates itself. But the root cause is different. Trauma often comes with other signs too, like intense fear, nightmares, or regression. And that's why a thorough assessment is so important so we're treating the right thing. Trauma will always appear with triggers, whereas ADHD is trait-like, not episodic. So that's really important to remember.
And how about autism? Is it linked with ADHD?
ADHD and autism are different conditions, but they do overlap. Many children, especially younger ones, can have traits of both and can have a diagnosis of both. Things like sensory sensitivity, social challenges, and emotional regulation difficulties can show up in both. It's also possible to have both as a diagnosis, like I just said, and it's more common than we used to think.
Before we wrap up, ADHD shows up differently for everyone, and if you've been thinking about getting an ADHD assessment, now might be the right time. You can book yours using the link in the description below, and don't forget to use the code for £50 off. Until next time, take care of yourself, be kind to your brain, and thanks for listening.